Forgive Russia for everything. Ukraine slams shocking Slovak proposal. Germany optimistic about 18th sanctions package against Moscow. And how Russia to intensify campaign to discredit Ukraine's European integration. The latest news next. The root cause of Russia's crimes is its impunity. One should not expect a criminal to stop if their crimes are forgiven, says the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Andrei Sybiha. Forgive everything to Russia. During a broadcast on STVR, Slovak Foreign Minister Juraj Blanar stated that resolving the full-scale invasion allegedly requires establishing communication with the Russian side and diplomatic solutions. He particularly emphasized that it is supposedly the West that should find a way to cooperate with the Russian side, and maybe even forgive everything that happened, he added. Forgive everything? Is that what we are calling justice now? Tell that to the families beneath the rubble, to the children who sleep in basements, to a country still barring its best. Russia's war isn't a mistake. It's a choice, a deliberate, bloody campaign backed by years of lies and silence. To forgive without justice is to green light the next invasion, the next Bucha, the next Mariupol. This isn't diplomacy, it's surrender masked as pragmatism, and Ukraine will not be the price paid for someone else's peace. Here also Sybiha's response.
Juraj, Russia's sense of impunity is the root cause of its crimes. It's naive to expect a criminal to stop if their crime is forgiven instead of punished. Russia will hit your other cheek as well.
The Ukrainian foreign minister adds that those who have not lost anyone in this full-scale war have no right to make such statements. Slovakia's position on the war in Ukraine. Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Slovakia has mostly supported Ukraine both politically and through military and humanitarian aid. However, following the 2023 parliamentary elections, which resulted in Robert Fico becoming prime minister, Slovakia significantly changed their rhetoric. The new government announced the suspension of military aid to Ukraine and made a series of statements about the need for peace while criticizing sanctions against Russia. Today, Slovakia opposes the adoption of the 18th package of sanctions against Russia until the issue of energy security is resolved. The Center for Countering Disinformation at the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine forecast an intensification of Russia's disinformation campaign aimed at discrediting Ukraine's European integration. The center stated on Telegram that pro-Kremlin media and politicians are expected to continue promoting messages about the supposed threat Ukraine's integration poses to Europe itself.
The center forecasts that in the coming 2 weeks, Russian propaganda will intensify its information campaign aimed at discrediting Ukraine's European integration.
At the same time, pro-Russian speakers will become more active, seeking and spreading arguments against Ukraine's membership, focusing on the lack of unity within Europe countries or the economic unattractiveness of Ukraine's integration. This campaign is intended to undermine trust in European institutions, cast doubt on the advisability of supporting Ukraine, and deepen divisions within the Europe. The center also forecasts an increase in propaganda messages portraying Ukraine as a failed state supposedly resorting to terrorism, along with attempts to spread anti-mobilization disinformation and manipulative narratives within Ukraine's information space. Hungary has announced the final results of the government's referendum regarding support for Ukraine's accession to the European Union, stating that 95% of participants voted against. Earlier, Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that the Hungarian government had made maximum efforts to ensure the outcome it desired in the consultations on Ukraine's accession to the Europe. It is time to move from using the profits from frozen assets of the Russian Federation to their full use for Ukraine's defense and reconstruction, said the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Andrei Sybiha, during a joint press conference with his German counterpart, Johann Wadefull. Sybiha noted that on the issue of the terrorist country's assets, Ukraine defends a consistent and principled position. According to him, it is necessary today to utilize all available funds for Ukraine's defense and reconstruction, as the enemy must compensate for the damage it has caused. At the same time, the minister noted that Kyiv sees an evolution in the position of European countries. This is important, as it is necessary to have a consolidated and coordinated decision of the G7 countries and European states.
Work is also underway in some countries where the most frozen or immobilized Russian assets are concentrated. Legal teams are working there, looking for the right formulas to implement this decision on the use of Russian assets for the needs of Ukraine's defense and reconstruction.
About frozen assets of Russia. After Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Western countries froze about $300 billion of assets of the Central Bank of Russia. Most of these funds are located in Europe, particularly within the European Union through the Euroclear clearance system, which is based in Belgium. The assets of Russian state-owned companies and sanctioned individuals also came under sanctions. Eventually, Ukrainians' partners began to use the income from the frozen funds to support Kyiv. For example, it recently became known that Ukraine will receive 350 modern missiles from Britain, which London will purchase with funds received from the assets. Germany expects that the European Union's plan for the 18th package of sanctions against Russia for its war against Ukraine will be adopted this week, Reuters reports. It will now be raised at the ambassadorial level and reconsidered after a visit by the Commission to Slovakia later this week, the German government spokesperson said. Sanctions package on June 10th. The European Commission proposed introducing a new package of sanctions against Russia for its invasion of Ukraine, striking at Moscow's energy revenues, banks and military industry. In particular, it is about a ban on operations with the Nord Stream pipeline and lowering the price cap on Russian oil to $45 per barrel. However, sanctions in Europe required the approval of all members, and the 18th package of sanctions was blocked by Slovakia. Prime Minister Robert Fico stated that Slovakia would not support new restrictions. Bratislava wants a decision from the European Commission that will make it possible to avoid economic damage in the event of Europe's gradual abandonment of Russian energy resources. Slovakia has not blocked any of the previous sanctions packages. The time for decisive action is now. Ukraine urgently needs strong, unified sanctions against Russia to cut off its war machine. Germany expects Europe's 18th sanctions package to move forward this week, targeting Russia's energy revenues, banks and military industry. But the roadblocks remain. Slovakia's current refusal to support new sanctions risks undermining the entire effort. How can we accept hesitation when every day delayed means more suffering, more destruction? The world must stand firm and deliver these sanctions without compromise, because Russia's war on Ukraine will only end when its funding is crushed. There is no room for doubt, no time for delay. The future of peace depends on it. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe.